it's interesting because another, I guess you could say, moments that I've had even more recently is we kind of it's kind of a small miniature version of what we do with our kids with what we do with adults as well, because we put them on this, I guess you could say, this treadmill, or this rat wheel, and they're just kind of going, and it starts at a slower speed for the kids, but as we become adults, it speeds up and it gets faster and faster. But in the grand scheme, if we really kind of stop and look, we're not going anywhere. We're just on this wheel, and it's not really taking us anywhere. And it's definitely not taking us to where we're trying to go. And everyone, has their goals and their end game. It's different for everybody. But for me, it's happiness. That's lasting happiness, not just, moments of thrill, but lasting happiness. That's kind of my end goal. And when I think about it, there was this one. He's a author. What's his name? Bob Barnes is his name. He's an author talks about parenting. He does it more from the Christian perspective. Great thinker though when it comes to parenting and his approach. But something that he said was, we are raising human doings instead of human beings. We put everybody, because everybody wants to get into the best college. And, in order to do that, you have to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity. You have to have, honor roll, and you have to be captain of your sports team, and you have to be, over the student council. And, you have all of these things that you're just throwing to put on your resume so you can get into the best college, so you can have the best job. And so if you get the best job, you can make the most money and buy this house and the picket fence, and you live happily ever after. But everybody knows that's not the way life really works. And then why do we want our kids to be subjected to this idea that I'm only successful and happy if I make it to this Ivy League school, or if I make it to this top ranked school, and if I'm an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer? What are those, what about those who don't quite meet that expectation, or don't have that interest, or not able to keep up with that pace? And as adults, we start, I was reading a statistic the other day that this is it's a growing level of people in their 20s and their 30s reaching this quarter life crisis, because they've worked their whole life in this schooling environment to go to a certain place, and then they're in this real world, and they realize, I still feel empty. I'm missing something. I'm not pursuing my interest and my passions, and that those things that I'm trying to teach my 6-year-old and my 3-year-old, they're learning and figuring out, at that age. I'm learning. Like, it's one of the I guess I have a lot of aha moments, but one of the other aha moments I've had is that this whole process, I've basically been unschooling myself since COVID. When COVID hit, and it gave us time to slow down and get off of that wheel, that treadmill. I started unschooling myself into my own interest, into the things that I love to do. And I realized, wow, like, I feel like I learned so much in that year than I did my years in college at the University of Florida, my years at, in high school, middle school. I learned more then in that one little year, just following my passions for, 12 months than I did, in all of those years. And it triggers like, this is because this is the natural way of things. And yeah.
I was going to say, because that is how human beings learn, right? Like, that ties absolutely back. Then that dichotomy between humans doing and humans being really starts to stand out. And I think maybe that humans doing piece might have been a lot of the stuff you're talking about sounds like those were things you were diving into as you were thinking about, what if I stay home with the kids, right? All those productivity expectations that we as a culture have, on everybody being as productive as possible, but definitely on dads, having that expectations that they be the provider. right, in the family. So peeling all that back to discover the hamster wheel, right, and discover, oh, we're just doing. What good is this productivity when I have the space to be? Oh my gosh, look how my learning shines, right? Like, just so many things bubble up all around those questions. It's really fascinating. I love the being versus doing kind of dichotomy, because it is fun to do, but then you realize so much of the doing is outer expectations. And then, okay, I followed the path, right? I got the good grades. I was captain of the team. I did my volunteer work. It looked really good on my application. I got into the good college. I graduated. Now this kind of quarter life crisis thing is like, also, you kind of expect the reward at the end of that too, right? Like, you have just had your life set out. Like, I did what you guys told me I needed to do. And now, I expect a reward at the end of this. And either they are judged, or they can't get it. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of, you hear of so many college kids who got their degree and everything, and there's not the job that they were expecting for them at the end, or they got it and they're feeling empty. Is this really fulfilling my purpose? I'm just spending all these years fulfilling someone else's purpose for me. And how does this feel now that I've achieved it? Right. And it goes back to what we were talking about before, being willing to ask those questions and dig a bit deeper, rather than, okay, I guess this is all there is. I'm going to keep running. Or am I going to stop for a moment? Am I going to pause? Am I going to start asking myself these questions and start digging into how that experience feels for me? And I think it's part of that is trusting yourself too, right? Like, trusting your experiences are real, right? Not judging, like, I'm doing this wrong. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. I actually never thought about it like that. It's a huge piece of trust. And, something that, with COVID in 2020, like I said, it allowed us to slow down. And just to speak personally, like, me and my wife, we went to counseling, and because we really wanted to focus on our union, and our marriage. And not that things were bad, but, we just wanted to strengthen that, that our bond. And the biggest thing that came out of that was trust, and allowing that trust and that to kind of flow through our relationship in every level, in every way, because there's so many little ways that we kind of cut against the trust that we don't even realize,
Yeah.
and with how, maybe the way I say something to her, the way she says something to me, and we assume, oh, you think negative of me. It was like, no, trust that I love you and I appreciate who you are and how you are. I'm just saying this more, for a different reason. And that trust, and in order to be able to give trust to someone else, you have to first trust yourself, and that's something that resonated so much with this process, and why. And I think I even said it, and maybe in videos, is I want my kids to be able to trust their feelings and their thoughts, their interests, and pursue those things. Because think about how dynamic of a person that is, a person who genuinely loves and trusts themselves and understands what they want out of life and understands how to get to it. Man, it's just such an amazing person, like, no matter if they're the president of the United States or if they're, picking flowers every day, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just following that kind of that passion and understanding and gaining that kind of self-trust, that's kind of self-confidence. To me, I just feel like that's what's going to change the world for the better. That's what's going to allow us to be successful overall.
And that is not something you can just tell somebody else, right? They need to gain that trust in themselves, that self-confidence through their own experiences, where they have the agency to make these choices, the choice that makes the most sense to them in the moment, and then seeing how that unfolds. Right? That's how they build trust in themselves. Doesn't mean it has to go right all the time. Absolutely not. When things go side, that's how you build trust. It's like, oh, things went sideways and I changed it up here and now it's working. Or, 4 or 5 twists and turns later, I got here. I can get here
Yeah.
And it's okay if it takes, this little twisty path. I trust myself to go with the flow, to figure out what's working for me, what piece isn't working for me, tweaking it here, a little tweak over there. And then when they're gaining all those experiences, also over time, they see how that changes. They see how they grow and change as a person. It's, I used to really not like that. And now I'm okay with it, just to see themselves change. I think that helps keep them open to that in the future. So they don't stay stuck in that hamster wheel. This is me. This is how I define myself. This is how I function. And if that changes, I'm wrong, right? To gain that experience, to have someone else trust, yet support them, like help them out, help them, whether it's through conversations or whether it's, supplies, or whether it's taking them places, wherever it is, just helping them have the experiences that they are interested in, that they think they want. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So maybe they think they want to go to the park, right? And then so you guys go to the park and they're playing around. It's like, I got bored of this fast, or you know what, this wasn't as fun as I thought. Like just something simple like that helps them learn more about themselves. So every little choice, whatever it is that they want to drink, was that satisfying? Every little thing helps them learn a little bit more about themselves, which in turn helps them trust themselves, trust even into say, you know what, that smoothie wasn't quite as satisfying, or that smoothie was super satisfying. You know what I mean? Exactly. In the moment, like the outcome of the choice, no matter what it is, helps them learn and gain a little bit more experience with themselves. And those experiences help them learn to trust themselves. The next time they're like, oh, I remember that experience. I'm going to tweak it and do it a little bit different this time, and we'll see how that plays out. So trust is something that we want to help them build and cultivate in themselves. It's not something that we can say, oh, you should trust yourself, whatever, you want to do. And that, for me, that's one of the beautiful things about unschooling, is we're giving them that space to make the choices that make the most sense to them, not hands off. Right? We're there to help them process, maybe, and then we learn whether they're internal processors or external processors. Maybe they want to chat about it. Maybe they want to say, oh, that wasn't as tasty as I thought. And they want to brainstorm. Next time, maybe I'll try this. Or maybe, they have more quiet time. They like to be off on their own. And then you just notice the next time they make a different choice. So you're like, they were thinking about that. You know what I mean? Those experiences are what helps them hear their inner voice, if you want to, put it that way, but just build trust in themselves, in their ability to make choices and to tweak things, to realize that there isn't like all right or wrong, that I'm not wrong if it doesn't go exactly the way they were expecting, but that the trust is that they can deal with that too, right?
Yeah. And, as parents, a lot of times we get so caught up in we don't want them to have the same mistakes we had.
Yeah.
But there's a beauty in them living through their own mistakes, and like there's my son, like I mentioned, he's 2, going on 3, and we go to the playground all the time. They love, as soon as they heard we were unschooled, like, yeah, playground every day. I'm like, all right, sure, we'll go to the playground every day. So we go to the playground there all the time, and he's climbing things, and I see all the, I'm like the only dad there, so I'm seeing all the moms like, clutching their pearls. Oh my goodness, 'cause he's like climbing so high, he's so little, and I think it's. If I come from a sports background, I've coached basketball for almost 20 years, and when a kid breaks a bone, right, and it heals, it's set and it heals. It actually heals harder than it was when the bone stronger than it was originally, right? And so I said, worst case scenario, he does fall and he does break a bone, right? He's going to heal and it's going to be stronger than what it was before. But even more importantly, he learns from his mistake of falling. And we as parents, we try to protect them from falls that they can survive. And but when it becomes a thing where it's a fall that they can't survive, they're not as familiar with making that critical decision. You know, they're not as comfortable with you know, making that drastic choice that might change their life for the, you know, for the rest of their life, you know, and or change the trajectory of their life. And that's, you know, that's something that, oh, I kind of joke in one of the videos, like the term unschooling, like it's kind of negative. Like, I don't know, because it's really parent based. It's just a way of parenting. I don't know, super parenting or engaged parenting, purposeful parenting, but it's just the way you parent. Like, you can be an unschooling parent, but your kids still be in school. Like, that's, you know what I mean? It has, you know, it's, the school part is just a small element of it. It's just more of a, you know, having that engaged interaction, those conversations, and allowing that time and allowing that the opportunity for your child to develop that level of trust, you know, and understanding in themselves and finding themselves.
Hey guys, we are going to be posting videos all the time. Subscribe for more. Hope you like them.